Good morning. In today's deep dive, we're tackling a challenge that resonates across boardrooms and living rooms alike: the elusive work life balance. This isn't just a personal struggle, it's a professional, economic, and societal issue. And this past weekend in Kampala, a group of women gathered to confront it head on. The Public Relations Association of Uganda, PRAU, hosted a special event for female professionals, a day before International Women's Day at the Revive Wellness Spa in Kalalo. The theme was powerful: the full woman, she's got it all. But what does having it all really mean in 2026? Is it a sustainable goal or a recipe for burnout? We'll explore the data, hear from experts, and debate the solutions. This is Kenya News Update today. Let's set the stage with some context. The conversation around work-life balance is not new, but its urgency has skyrocketed in the post-pandemic world. A recent Pan-African survey by the African Professional Women's Network found that 72% of female professionals across the continent report feeling chronically overwhelmed by the competing demands of career and home. In Uganda specifically, the numbers are even more stark. A 2025 study by Macquarie University's Gender Studies Department revealed that 85% of women in managerial roles work more than 50 hours per week. Furthermore, 68% of these women report being the primary caregiver for children or elderly relatives. That's a dual burden of immense proportion. The pressure isn't just anecdotal, it's quantifiable. Consider the time allocation. The same Macquarie study broke down the average weekly hours for a Ugandan professional woman. On average, 52 hours are dedicated to formal employment and work-related tasks. 28 hours are spent on domestic responsibilities and caregiving. That leaves, theoretically, 88 hours for sleep, personal care, and leisure. But when you factor in a recommended 56 hours for sleep, you're left with just 32 hours, or roughly 4.5 hours per day, for everything else. Commuting, personal administration, and that mythical concept called me time all have to fit into that shrinking window. This leads us to a critical metric: burnout risk. Using a standardized professional quality of life scale, researchers assessed a sample of 200 Ugandan female professionals. The results showed that 65% scored in the high-risk category for burnout and compassion fatigue. Only 15% were in the low-risk zone. The remaining 20% fell into the moderate range. This isn't just about stress, it's about the erosion of professional efficacy and personal well-being. A workforce operating at this level of strain is less innovative, more prone to error, and has higher turnover. The economic cost is significant. The Uganda Employers Federation estimates that burnout-related absenteeism and presenteeism cost the national economy approximately 200 billion Ugandan shillings annually. So, what was the solution proposed at the PRAU event? The central message, according to our sources, was community. Speakers emphasized that leaning on and building a supportive network is not a sign of weakness, but a critical strategy for sustainability. This involves both professional communities, like PRAU, and personal support systems. Let's break down what this community support model looks like in practice. Experts suggest it operates on 3 levels: the practical, the emotional, and the strategic. At the practical level, it means tangible help. This could be carpooling with other parents, creating a meal prep collective with neighbors, or formally outsourcing tasks like cleaning or laundry if financially feasible. The goal is to offload non-essential tasks to create bandwidth. Emotionally, it involves having trusted confidants, friends, mentors, or professional coaches with whom you can be vulnerable about the struggles without judgment. Strategically, it means building alliances at work. This could be advocating for more flexible policies as a group, or creating mentorship programs where senior leaders actively sponsor and guide rising talent, helping them navigate career paths that don't require perpetual sacrifice. However, this community-centric approach faces immediate pushback. The first major counter-argument is accessibility. Building a reliable community requires time, social capital, and often financial resources. Not every professional woman has equal access to these. A junior staffer living far from family support in a new city faces a very different reality than an established executive. Furthermore, the cultural expectation in many societies, including parts of East Africa, still heavily places the burden of domestic management on women. Relying on a partner or extended family for equitable sharing of duties is not yet a universal norm. This places the onus back on the individual woman to manage her community, which becomes another item on her to-do list. We reached out to a Nairobi-based organizational psychologist, Dr. Amani Okoth, for a regional perspective. She told us the community narrative is vital, but it must be paired with institutional responsibility. We cannot therapy our way out of structural problems. When a company's culture rewards endless availability and penalizes boundary setting, no amount of personal resilience or friend groups can compensate. The system is designed to extract maximum output, often at the cost of the individual's holistic health. Dr. Okoth's point shifts the lens from personal coping mechanisms to systemic change. She argues that the debate must include corporate policy, government legislation on parental leave and flexible work, and a redefinition of professional success. This brings us to the corporate angle. What are companies in our region actually doing? The data is a mixed bag. A 2024 survey of 100 major firms in Kenya and Uganda showed that while 90% now have some form of flexible work policy on paper, only about 30% have leadership that actively encourages its use without career penalty. Furthermore, only 15% offer subsidized childcare support. There's a significant implementation gap between policy and practice. Let's look at the adoption rates of specific work-life support programs among these 100 firms. The most common is flexible working hours, offered by 72 companies. Remote work options are available at 58 firms. Mental health counseling, or EAP, employee assistance programs, are provided by 45. Paid paternal leave beyond the legal minimum is offered by only 22 companies. And as mentioned, subsidized childcare sits at the bottom, offered by just 15. This hierarchy reveals priorities. Flexibility that maintains productivity is common, benefits that represent a direct cost or acknowledge caregiving as a shared responsibility are rare. Proponents of the corporate responsibility view argue for measurable change. They suggest tying executive bonuses to employee well-being metrics, conducting regular balance audits, and creating clear, promotion-safe pathways for employees who utilize flexible arrangements. They point to global studies showing that companies with high scores on work-life support see 25% lower turnover, a 15% increase in productivity, and stronger employer branding. The return on investment, they argue, is clear. But there's another, more philosophical side to this debate. Some commentators and even some of the women at forums like the PRAU event question the very framework of balance. The term implies a neat 50-50 scale, a perfect equilibrium that is likely unattainable and may not even be desirable. Instead, they propose the concept of integration or harmony. This view accepts that there will be seasons of life where career demands more, and seasons where family requires the lion's share of attention. The goal isn't daily balance, but sustainable harmony over the long arc of a career and a life. What does this integrated life require according to its advocates? A survey of 200 female leaders who self-identified as satisfied with their work life harmony revealed their top strategies. 30% cited ruthless prioritization and delegation, learning to say no to non-essential tasks. 25% emphasized boundary-setting technology, like having separate work phones or strict no-email hours. 20% pointed to partner alignment, having a spouse or partner with a truly shared vision for domestic responsibilities. 15% relied on targeted outsourcing, paying for specific help. The final 10% cited mindset shift, actively rejecting the guilt associated with not doing it all perfectly. This perspective, however, is not without its critics. They argue that integration can easily become a euphemism for work always being present. The smartphone that allows you to attend a school play also tethers you to the office. Without strong structural guardrails, like France's right to disconnect law, integration can blur boundaries until they disappear entirely. Furthermore, the ability to choose seasons of focus is a privilege often unavailable to hourly workers, single parents, or those in highly precarious employment. For them, the struggle is not about harmony but survival. So where does this leave us? The PRAU event highlighted a shared recognition of the problem and the primal importance of support networks. The data underscores the severe scale of burnout and its costs. The debate reveals a spectrum of solutions, from personal community building to corporate policy overhaul to a fundamental rethinking of the balance paradigm itself. Perhaps the most compelling statistic to emerge from recent research is this: teams with greater diversity, including gender diversity, but where women are not overburdened and burned out, show a 45% higher rate of reported innovation. This suggests that solving the work-life challenge isn't just a women's issue or a soft HR topic. It's a hard-nosed economic imperative for national and corporate competitiveness. Supporting professional women to thrive in all aspects of their lives isn't altruism, it's strategic intelligence. The conversation started in Kalalo needs to echo in cabinet meetings, C-suite conferences, and living rooms across the region. It requires men to be active participants in domestic life, companies to move beyond policy on paper, and societies to update their definitions of success and care. The full woman of the PRAU theme may indeed have it all, but only if all is supported by a foundation of shared responsibility, realistic expectations, and systemic enablement. The quest for balance, or harmony, continues. For Kenya News Update today, this has been a deep dive into the scales of modern life. Subscribe to Kenya News Update today for more.